Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be speaking on lessons from Ruth, specifically from chapter 2. In my last video I actually spoke on Ruth chapter 1 and the lessons I personally learned from chapter 1 and that we can all apply to our lives. So to begin, let's start with summary. Ruth decided she was going to gather the leftover grain after the harvesters. And she so happened to come to the field belonging to Boaz. Boaz was also from the clan Elimelech, so he is actually related to Naomi through her husband, which has passed away. I also want to point out some background context. The book of Ruth was happening during the book of Judges. We know this because in chapter 1 it began with, "In the days when the judges ruled." In the book of Judges, there was no king, there was no order, and everyone did what was right in their own eyes. After reading what many had done in the book of Judges, which was morally corrupt, it shows us that Ruth was not entirely safe, especially as someone who just came from Moab and she was known as a foreigner. He noticed Ruth and asked, "Whose young woman is this?" The man who was in charge of the reapers told Boaz that she asked for permission to glean and gather after the reapers and that she has been working since then. Boaz told Ruth, "Now listen, my daughter, do not go to glean in another field, or leave this one, but keep close to my young woman. Let your eyes be on the field that they are reaping, and go after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn." Ruth fell on her face and bowed to the ground and said, "Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner?" Boaz answered her, "All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and your mother and your native land and came to a people that you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Ruth told him that she has found favor in his eyes, that he comforted her and spoke kindly to her, his servant, even though she is not one of his servants. Boaz invited Ruth to mealtime to eat with him and the reapers, and she ate until she was satisfied and even had some left. When Ruth rose to glean, Boaz instructed his young men to let her glean even among the sheaves and not to reproach her. So that means she can now gather grain from the main harvesting area. Ruth came home to Naomi, brought what she had gleaned and the leftover food she had. Naomi said, "Where did you glean today? And where have you worked? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." Ruth told Naomi that it was Boaz, and Naomi said, "May he be blessed." And Naomi also mentioned that Boaz was one of their redeemers, meaning legally he is able to restore their family's land and line. Naomi told Ruth to continue gleaning with his young woman so that she is not assaulted in another field. Ruth kept close to the young woman of Boaz, and she gleaned until the end of the barley and the wheat harvests, and she lived with her mother-in-law. So I am going to list out the lessons I personally learned from Ruth and Boaz, starting with Ruth. The first one from Ruth is that she began working. Ruth went through a lot, but she didn't allow it to stop her from working and getting things done. She wasn't waiting for help or for charity. She knew what she needed to get done, and she got it done. Ruth was probably nervous and scared of being harmed, especially at that time, but she took a step of faith. In life, we can grow through the pain or allow it to keep us stuck. Ruth initiated the action of working. It was never forced upon her. It was definitely needed in their situation, and that's exactly why she took action upon it. Whenever the environment around us changes, we need to remember that we as well need to make some changes in our lives too. I'm not saying that when our environment changes or something changes in our life that we have to change our personality or ourselves or things that we do entirely. What I am saying is that in order for God's will to be fully done in specific and certain seasons, sometimes we have to do something different. Sometimes we have to do something new. Sometimes we have to do something that might be different than it was last season. And sometimes it feels uncomfortable, but it's necessary and it's needed. And God is not against change. He actually strengthens us through change when it honors Him and glorifies Him. The second lesson I got from Ruth chapter 2 is Ruth receives without manipulation. Okay, so Ruth did not have to manipulate, tempt, or be flirtatious in any shape or form to receive anything from Boaz. She remained godly, respectful, and humble. And from that, she was blessed. In society, so many women feel the need to be flirtatious and provocative in order to receive recognition, status, and so forth. Ruth shows us that godliness and purity outbeats all of that. In a world where being provocative is praised and celebrated, sometimes it will feel like being godly and respectful is wrong. And that's exactly what the enemy wants us to believe. And now I'm going to be speaking about things that I got from Boaz. One of them is Boaz recognizes and commends Ruth's actions. Boaz tells Ruth that all that she has done has been fully told to him. Her care for her mother-in-law, her leaving her father, mother, and native land, and coming to a people that she did not know before. Boaz, a godly man respected by many, honored the faithfulness and conduct of Ruth. But a man who has no compass, no love for God, will never notice your worth and sacrifices. But a man like Boaz, who fears the Lord and loves the Lord, will know your worth and praise the sacrifices you made for and through the Lord. In a world where the lust of the eyes and the lust of the flesh is normalized, many no longer appreciate godliness or courage. The other one from Boaz is Boaz was generous without expecting anything in return from Ruth. Boaz was generous, and with his generosity, he expected nothing in return. In the time of Judges, men with positions of power or authority mistreated the vulnerable. Boaz gave and gave with a pure intention. It showed his true character, and it was expressed through his actions. That's also a reason why Boaz told the young man not to touch her. It was so that she can be protected, and so that her reputation would be protected as well. If you find yourself in a situation where someone gives you something and they expect something in return, it shows the intention really wasn't out of generosity, but rather self-gain. And honestly, we should walk away from spaces and people that are generous, but only when they gain something from it. And from both, from Ruth and Boaz, we can see that their friendship was not transactional. Like, okay, Ruth, I gave you this, now I need this in return. Boaz didn't expect anything from her. And because Ruth came from Moab, she was seen as more vulnerable. And Boaz didn't use that to manipulate or use her in any way, shape, or form. And in this chapter, there's no romantic initiation. Therefore, Ruth gets to see Boaz in his normal state. This is something Boaz would do in order to help someone and in order to bless someone. Boaz did not ask Ruth for a relationship in return, physical, emotional, anything in return. It was simply out of his generosity. And Ruth, she was very grateful. And we can see from the chapter that Ruth really couldn't give Boaz something in return. It wasn't because she didn't want to, it's because she couldn't at the moment. And it just shows that the relationship is starting with no transactions. I don't know if you see it, but I see it a lot today, that men and women get with each other. They only pursue each other if it only fulfills a status, a picture, an image, but the godliness, the character, the morals, the virtues, they're not as important. The most important thing for a lot of people is the way it makes me feel, how people are going to look at me, and the status. And for Boaz to accept a foreign woman, to have her on his field, to tell the reapers to not touch her, for her to be able to have access to glean with them, is him stating that her being from Moab is no issue because her character, her kindness, her humility, her faithfulness is more important to him. And from this chapter, I can see that Boaz acknowledged that Ruth was a Moabite, but he never used it against her or a way to make her feel less than. Like, oh, I know you're a Moabite woman, so I'm gonna bless you. I know you're a Moabite woman, and I know you need help. Boaz acknowledged that, but didn't see it as a barrier to bless her. And that's why it's so important for us to know who our identity is in. It's not in a person. It's not in a position. It's in the Lord. This chapter was amazing, and I know there's so much more we can learn from it. There's so much details to it, which is amazing. I'm so excited to speak on Ruth chapter 3, and I pray that this video was good to you as it was good to me. I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless you.